Hey, good morning. It's Tammy Davis. I'm sorry for that quick jerk up if you're watching this. I am an evidence-based aromacologist and phytotherapist. I have a background in pharmacology, nutrition, and aromatherapy, and continually study drug development to this day with regards to plant constituents and their significant effect on the human genome as it relates to drug development. But what's more, it's also, there's a large body of researchers even looking into how plant constituents actually just work with human health altogether. That sort of research actually takes place in other countries, not necessarily the US. So, if you're new to my website or my channel, welcome. Yes, this is not a usual video. This is my voice as we look at the landscape as I hike through the hills. Yeah, I was just up there. Hike through the hills of my backyard, which happens to be in New Mexico. Anyway, so the purpose of this video is I actually wanted to talk a little bit about a very specific health issue. And I am actually going to, once I'm done recording this and get back and even get it uploaded, it takes me a little while out here in the mountains, I'm going to provide a document that kind of breaks all of this down as well, which you'll be able to take a look at just for to kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. And it has to do with oils and their application, like I said, for a very particular health condition, in this case vascular deficiency. It goes by other names, I think chronic vein insufficiency and stuff like that, but this vascular deficiency is the result, more often than not, of severe varicose veins. And my client has a history, 20 plus years of heavy weightlifting. He does have a family history of COPD, stroke, high blood pressure. Not that that is of any significant, I mean, it is significant, but I'm not suggesting that this is his route, because if you've not watched any of my other videos, then allow me just to say that the human genome, the epigenome more specifically, has the ability to adapt according to thoughts, feelings, foods, the air we breathe, the things we put on our skin, the pills that we take, including supplements. It adapts to everything. It's wired to survive. That's the reason for my last video. We are wired to survive. It is not about disease. So when you are taking these genetic tests that have become pretty popular these days, you are getting a snapshot of your epigenome, and it's not even an accurate one, especially if you're going, I should say the reports are inaccurate. The test itself is an accurate snapshot, but the reports that you get that explain defects, those little red, yellow, and green boxes, and they show you where you have defects, and then you have everybody out here selling nutraceuticals to assist with those defects, right? That's just a snapshot on the day that you spit into the tube. That has no bearing on what your body is doing today. And this would be one reason why some of these nutraceuticals don't necessarily provide much in the way of felt relief. So the point to all of that is we have to be very careful. We have to be mindful, more importantly. Being careful about how you use oils with anything, and then being mindful about, again, how you're using them. Because you cannot mix medications and oils unless you, I lost my footing, unless you understand how to, because there's too many conflicts, too many potential conflicts. More specifically, you have the duplication of action, where you duplicate the mechanism of action, meaning like if somebody is on a psychotropic that is increasing serotonin levels in the brain, you can actually affect that with the oils. And that's the last thing you want to do. The other potential interaction would be at the liver enzyme level. Because these medications, as targeted as they are for genetic activity, they also help to regulate liver enzyme, the detox process, and the elimination of these drugs. And oils will be affected by the same, or they do affect similar enzymes. So you have to understand how the oils work on the CYP450 genes. So, having said all of that, this particular client does not, I forgive the wind, I'll try to get down here as quickly as possible, does not have, he's not on any medications. He has a world of people wanting him to get on a bunch of medications because, well, they have a hard time wrapping their head around essential oils being anything beyond palliative. That's what I want to say. They want to think that they just think that they're palliative treatment and that they're nothing else. And that is so misunderstood and mistaken. That is so far from the truth. I will tell you though, if you are taking medications, it is important to, I won't say use them in a palliative way, but you're going to want to actually produce a blend or have a blend that provides more stability in the system. And again, because medications, for as beneficial as they are, they do lead to, they do disrupt the system. They do disrupt the homeostasis of the system, and stability is necessary. Otherwise, you're going to throw the body into one more stress cycle, protective cycle, where it's going to continually activate and deactivate genes in order to restore what it believes is homeostasis, which could eventually turn into some form of health issue. So, including oils with meds is an exceptional way of preventing that. Again, you might think of it as palliative, but if you actually understand how to bring balance to the system, and this is something I can do for you, then you have an opportunity to provide stability and relief so that the body isn't working extra hard to not only deal with the messages coming in from the medications, but trying to stabilize this stressful reaction that's occurring. Like I said, though, in the case of my client, he is not using any medications, to the disappointment of his co-workers and colleagues and such. But this is a serious issue for him, and I'm not going to review a lot of the personal history, just in case anybody that knows him and knows me, just for privacy's sake. So what I want to say, though, is there is exceptional history here, and that led to the prolonged circumstances that he had to deal with. So about a year ago, we started working because he developed an ulceration on the left side, on the outside of his left foot. And like I said, he has a history, decades of varicose veins, and he does have a family history of what appears to be nitric oxide synthase disruption. But more importantly, he lives on the planet Earth and is exposed to countless xenoestrogens. If you haven't met my dog, that's Theo. See? And he's been exposed to many chemicals. So those xenoestrogens alone will throw off nitric oxide synthase. So it doesn't necessarily mean it is a family issue. Again, there is a part of the genome that is inherited. And so the way that is wired, if you want to know how that works, please take a look at my last video. But ultimately, each cell prior to conception is altered for unexplainable reasons, and those alterations, when they come together, create a blueprint that ultimately leads to your your health and how your epigenome responds to the world and interacts with the rest of the genome. That's what defines your health. So in his case, he presented, like I said, with an ulcer, and even though he wanted me to help him with the varicose veins, I mean, he wasn't really on the board with all, I mean, he was on board with the treatment. He just didn't, his compliance was null. And then he developed this ulcer. So he asked me to do something for the ulcer, and I did. And the first ththing I thought of, truthfully, when I saw the ulcer was Charcot foot, which is a condition that develops from diabetic neuropathy and diabetes, where the blood vessels weaken because the nerves are not functioning optimally. See, it just cut me off. Here, I wanted to show you this. So, yeah, and what ultimately happens is a deterioration in the bone. And the bones, I mean, literally breaks down, and then the foot turns into what looks like almost like an elephant's foot. I've worked on these conditions, and truthfully, you cannot restore bone at that point. You can improve circulation, you can improve nerve. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. You certainly can relieve the discomfort, but trying to repair that foot short of surgery is not going to happen with oils. See, this, what I do works with the medical world. And I'm not against telling anybody what I can and cannot do. And there's a lot that can be done with the oils, but you gotta, it's not a miracle drug. It's not a miracle cure. The only thing that's going to cure that body is your body. So give it the right information. So in this guy's case, we started on salves to heal, pardon me, to heal the wound and get it closed up. I also did some things to, he was having some respiratory issues, but he had in the background worked in water treatment facilities with a lot of chemicals. And so his lungs were, struggling. So, but there was, to me, there was a connection. So we started working on that. And we got it healed. And then a few months later, he developed a sore on the other side. And I mean, truthfully, I was working with varicose veins. I was working with circulation. I was working with helping to generate new tissue. And it worked. So, but he developed 2 more sores a couple months later. And subsequently, ever since the 2 sores have developed, he's worked on his feet nonstop. He's a neuromuscular therapist and is on his feet 10 to 11 hours a day. It's a lot of work to do that kind of body work, especially the kind of work that he's doing. And massage is difficult. I mean, you're on your feet and you're having to work on somebody else's body, which causes you to go into very particular weird situations or movements or positions, I should say. So he started doing this I mean, he was already mildly doing it. He switched and found himself in a clinic that could keep him super busy, but nothing was improving. So I finally said to him, and what you're going to get in the document are the oils that I used to help with all of this. Keep in mind, though, things have been changing, I mean, on a regular basis, because, well, his system's changing, and I'm trying to keep the body actively restoring itself. You don't want to become complacent and just keep using the same thing. So in this case, with the 2 new ulcers, started again with the same treatment and changed out the oils a little bit, and it wasn't getting any better. But keep in mind, he was on his feet all the time, and if you know anything about varicose veins, one of the biggest issues is being on your feet all the time. And then his foot started swelling and his calf would swell, and I could clearly see that there was definitely vascular issues going on, besides the obvious, and things were not moving. So we added lymph mover to this. I became a little bit more aggressive with the lymph. And then I suggested he put on a compression sock to kind of help keep the fluids moving. Because when you stand, or your feet are down all the time, and you have poor circulation, you're compromised. And in order for the body to heal, these fluids have to circulate. Okay, so he didn't comply again. So fast forward to, I don't know how many months, and probably about 3 months, and this guy's in so much pain. So, I mean, partly I was helping him with pain. I was extraordinarily concerned about infection, and I had, he kept using this. I had to get on him because he wasn't really using them, and he finally realized that he's going to have to, because the pain was increasing. But the pain was increasing because the circulation was dwindling. And so we talked, and like I said, I mean, was factoring so many different things into this, and my mind is racing because I'm just thinking of something that one of his co-workers said, and that was that it was time that he stopped doing the home remedies. And that's the reason why I started this video off saying this is evidence-based. This is not home remedy stuff, and I'm not just working on an infection. I'm actually making sure there isn't an infection that sits in because they're open. But this is a result. This level of vascular breakdown means the immune system is working extraordinarily hard. Now I want to get into the real stuff. So if you hung with me this far, thank you. So vascular deficiency, and this can go for any health condition, really. Like I said, he had decades of heavy weightlifting. And this is going to trigger the hormonal system. Again, if you're new to my channel, one of the most important things to remember is that there's a direct relationship between the hormonal system and the immune system. They rely on one another for full function. So the immune system gets the information from the hormonal system. And when you are lifting weights to the magnitude, I mean, we're talking 800-pound squats. We're talking about a lot of weight. And again, it doesn't mean you don't have to be a man to be going through this. Women don't have to lift this kind of weight to get varicose veins. I mean, we carry children, we're on our feet a lot, and this is just becoming more inherently of a problem with people who don't even demonstrate those kind of behaviors because it's hormonally related. That's the most important piece. It's hormonally related and it's immune related. So the hormonal system is activated because there's tissue breakdown from all the weightlifting, right? Which is going to prompt the immune system to help repair. But he has other issues, which is the nitric oxide synthase, like I said. What happens is it increases histamine levels. Histamine depletes or diminishes nitric oxide or alters the amount of nitric oxide that's produced. This is the reason why so many men have testosterone issues, this alone. The cardiovascular system, the vessels, are lined with endothelial cells that are activated in the presence of histamine. In a vascular deficiency, you have basically major epithelial cell blossom, and you also have mast cell blossoms. I mean, you have high levels of mast cells to rebuild tissue. You've got epithelial cells that are being released because the hormonal system is trying to rebuild tissue, but it's also not functioning optimally due to the stress that's in the body. And what I mean by that is there's more oxidative stress being produced because of the environment. So there's a lot of things that get rolled into this, and this is what I build into every single formula that I do. So in his case, I had to stabilize endothelial cells. I had to stabilize mast cells. I needed to help improve circulation, the blood circulation, as well as lymph circulation. Yes, we wanted to regenerate new tissue, but we had to get rid of the necrotic tissue, the tissue that was dying. And all of this is built into this. Is how these oils work. This is just how flippin' cool these oils are, but you gotta understand how to use them. And what I mean by that is you gotta understand how these systems work. I mean, we just can't be, I mean, I know that if you went out, you can look up what oils are good for the skin, but that's not what we're doing here. That is not what I'm doing here at all. Like I mentioned earlier, I actually study these health conditions, and everybody that comes to me, even though I've had experience potentially with varicose veins, we had rain here, each situation is different because it's personalized. It's an individual. It is not varicose veins. It is just not generalized vascular deficiency. My son asked me last night if I just kind of just like, well, I've seen this case, so I treat them all the same. Absolutely not. Everybody gets, you know, whatever amount of research is necessary before I formulate anything. And so even though vascular deficiency is, I mean, I can wrap my head around it, understanding the mechanisms of what's going on is essential. And then designing blends that synergistically work to improve the immediate circumstances, meaning symptom relief, as well as bring stability to the body and actually encourage the body to restore healthy tissue and a higher level of health. So that is basically what I built into these blends. Let me just review. Blood circulation, lymph circulation, tissue eliminating necrotic tissue, rebuilding healthy tissue, stabilizing mast cells, stabilizing endothelial cells, stabilizing the hormonal system, reducing histamine, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, the document that I will provide here will give you a breakdown basically of what I did for him, the types of oils, and why. And hopefully that will give you some insight. And if you have any questions based on that, please hit me up at tammy@synergessence.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's time we make a change in our healthcare. And I'm willing to teach people how to do this because there's no sense in standardizing health. And there's no sense in excluding extreme benefits from something that is incorporated with intent and mindfulness. Okay, you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed the sites. I like doing it this way, that way you can just kind of maybe just turn around and do stuff and just hear me instead of having to sit there and watch me. So thanks again. You guys have a beautiful day wherever you are, and keep smiling.